Racism, white supremacy is a historically based, institutionally perpetuated system of exploitation and oppression of continents, nations, and people of color by European people and the nations of the European continent for purpose of establishing, maintaining, and defending a system of wealth, power, and privilege. Racism is not just feelings or attitudes or hatred towards people. Racism, white supremacy is embedded in the very structures that mold people's lives. It is this racist ideology that rationalizes and justifies racist oppression, like the media narrative that criminalizes victims of police and vigilante violence like Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, and Freddie Gray, as well as many others. Further, racism equals prejudice plus power. Therefore, institutional racism is systematic institutionalization of race prejudice plus power. African Americans lack power to oppress or restrict anyone. Racism denies people access to life, liberty, to the pursuit of happiness, to proper education, to control over their own resources. Name a time when African people denied Caucasians of such rights. My answer would be yes. In the case of police, all cops are dealing with enormous cultural and systematic forces that build racial bias against so-called minority groups. These policing tactics can also create and accentuate personal, subconscious bias by increasing the likelihood that the officer will relate blackness with criminality or danger, leading to what psychologists call implicit bias against African Americans. For instance, the amygdala, a brain region associated with experiencing fear and emotions, tend to be active when whites view an unfamiliar black male face. After seeing unknown black faces flashed at subliminal speeds, whites tend to show more hostility in various contexts, leading to a breakdown of social connections between different races. Also, whites tend to more easily associate negative words such as terrible, failure, horrible, evil, war, awful, words of that nature with unknown black faces as opposed to white faces. The justice system is just that, just us Caucasian folks. The system wasn't built for us, but was built to maintain us. In the context of white American domination, there is no innocent black male, just black male criminals who have not yet been detected, apprehended, or convicted. There are 1,500 newspapers, 11,000 magazines, 9,000 radio stations, 1,500 TV stations, 2,400 publishers, owned by only 6 corporations: Time Warner, Walt Disney, Viacom, News Corporation, CBS Corporation, and NBC Universal. These 6 corporations control 90% of media in America. Whoever controls the media, the images, controls the culture. In 1964, it compelled Malcolm X to stand before a crowd in New York City in Abu Dhabi Ballroom, where he would be assassinated less than 1 year later, and make it plain as he only could. "This is the press, a responsible press," he said. "It will make the criminal look like he's the victim and make the victim look like he's the criminal. If you aren't careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing." Further, the Honorable Marcus Garvey also stated, "Among some organized methods used to control the world is the known and called propaganda. Propaganda has done more to defeat the good intentions of races and nations than even open warfare. Propaganda is a method or medium used by organized people to convert others against their will. We of the African race are suffering more than any other race in the world from propaganda. Propaganda to destroy our hopes, our ambitions, and our confidence in self. Essentially, propaganda is information, especially of biased, misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or point of view. Well, first thing you can do is educate yourself on your enemies. You want to educate yourself on the people who are oppressing you. Learn from the mistakes we made in the past so that we won't make them in the future. Teach the babies. Educate them too. We can't leave them behind. Educate the women. Educate your sisters, your mothers, your aunties. Educate the family. It's important that we understand the objective for all of our people, and that is, to get free from this bondage that we've been facing for the last several hundred years.